Malika Andrews has shown to have a very strong dislike for black men in the way that she reports things. It showed recently as the internet gave her a lot of flack, including Dez Bryant, for not reporting on Josh Giddey, a white man that plays for the Oklahoma City Thunder, and his alleged relationship with an underage girl. She chose not to report on it, right? All up until yesterday when she was tired of getting the flack for it. And before we get to Stephen A. Smith and Jemele Hill defending her bull, let's just revisit all the times that she's egregiously done this before.
Shifting gears, former Michigan State star Adrian Payne was shot and killed in Orlando, Florida, early Monday morning, the Orange County Sheriff's Office said. And Payne was the 15th pick by the Atlanta Hawks in 2014, played 4 seasons in the NBA with multiple teams. In 2018, he was waived by the Magic after he was named in a report by ESPN's Outside the Lines that he'd been involved in an alleged sexual assault at Michigan State in 2010. No charges were filed in that case. Prior to playing in the NBA, Payne was a member of the All Big Ten second team in 2 of his 4 seasons with Michigan State.
This was how she chose to report on Adrian Payne's death. Mind you, she didn't mention that he died going to break up a domestic dispute of a young lady that was a friend of his, and her boyfriend killed him. But that's how she reported on it, right? Let's bring up assault stuff from back when Michigan State had no charges were filed for.
You reported that Joe Mazzulla will be the interim head coach here. You can see his resume on your screen. He's been a Celtics assistant coach the last 3 seasons after spending the previous 3 seasons at Fairmount State. And he played for West Virginia between 2006 and 2011, and now could become the NBA's youngest head coach at 34 years old. And we'd be remiss not to also mention that Mazzulla was arrested twice at West Virginia, once in 2008 for underage drinking and aggravated assault. He pled guilty, paid a fine, and then again in 2009 for domestic battery after an incident at Morgantown Bar. The domestic battery case never went to trial. It was settled in August of 2009. He paid a $100 fine and court costs, plus had to do 40 hours of community service. Now, that was 13 years ago. He settled and paid both fines. So, Woj, why are the Celtics choosing him as their next head coach?
Choose to mess up Joe Mazzulla's moment. 13 years ago, underage drinking and domestic battery that was settled out of court. You choose to bring this up when he gets hired. Okay, let's move on.
Get your finger out of my armpit. We're just happy to see Jay.
How can we forget the infamous finger in the armpit when there was no finger in the armpit clearly from the picture in the video that we're watching? And this was supposed to be a friend of hers, Jalen Rose.
Obviously, we are here in Chicago for what is sure to be a special night in the draft lottery, which will decide where Victor Wembanyama, a generational talent, is headed. But let's start here, because this is the second time in about 2 months that Ja Morant, the star of the Memphis Grizzlies, has been seen on social media brandishing a firearm. And before he was reinstated after his suspension last time, he flew to New York, he sat down, he met with you. What did you say to him about how much more severe it would be if he did this again?
Well,
Do you see how long it took Adam Silver to answer this question? Because he didn't want to answer, because you just dropped a grenade in his lap on national TV like this. Why would you bring this up? This is the draft is about Victor Wembanyama and all the new players that's getting drafted. Why would you bring up a gun charge on Ja Morant at this point in time? Even though it was dumb, why would you choose now to bring this up when it has nothing to do with what's going on?
has anyone noticed how good Malika Andrews is at this? She quite literally will say, yeah, we're about to talk about this prospect, who, by the way, was most famous for being indicted in a capital murder of this person 7 years ago. She does this a lot. Look, listen to this.
Bobby, I want to talk to you a little bit more about Brandon Miller. His name did surface in court testimony involving a case where his former teammate and another man, they've been indicted for capital murder in the fatal shooting of 23-year-old Jamea Harris in January. The University of Alabama has described Miller as a cooperating witness. How is this factoring, if at all, into how teams are evaluating him?
Yeah, Malika, part of the I don't think it would be brought up at all if it wasn't for Malika just bringing it up on national television right now. Bro, she always does this. She's like an encyclopedia for negativity.
That was her bringing up Brandon Miller's case. Even though he had been absolved of all wrongdoing, he had nothing to do with what happened in the case, which is why he was still going number 2 in the draft. She just had to double dip and bring it up again for no reason.
The fact that we are sitting here debating whether somebody else should have been suspended or not, we are not here, Stephen A., to further blame women. That is not why we are here.
First of all, let me be very clear. I don't appreciate where you're going with that. I'm not blaming anybody but Ime Udoka. He deserves, the fact of the matter is, I've said he deserved to be fired if they were going to fire him. If you're not going to fire him, then don't fire him. My issue is all of this being publicized. The point that I'm trying to make is just
you
like
don't
you're
think
not
someone would
mentioning.
notice if Ime Udoka was not
Excuse me. I listened to you. You're the one telling me to stop on my show. It ain't happening. Okay, that's number one.
And that was the back and forth between her and Stephen A. over Ime Udoka. And mind you, everything hadn't come out in this case neither. But she was very fervent about letting Ime Udoka get all the flack that he was supposed to get. But she was also very fervent about protecting the white woman's image and name in all of this as well. But let's go ahead and get to what Dez Bryant had to say and then get to Stephen A. Smith and Jemele Hill defending Malika Andrews.
Dez Bryant tweets, Malika Andrews, you went out of your way to crucify Brandon Miller, the number 2 overall pick of the Charlotte Hornets on draft day, over something he didn't even do, wrote Bryant. Why haven't you said nothing about Josh Giddey? I advise you not to make this a black or white thing. Your parents really raised you wrong, and just because you went to a private school don't make you better. You appeal, and I know you're kind. You're just a puppet. I don't know how a former or current NBA player could sit there across from you and look at you with some kind of respect. Let me say this. Dez Bryant, I miss him. I miss Dez Bryant because I loved watching him as a wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys for those 8 years he was there before he suffered that injury and came back and tried to resume his career in Baltimore, and that didn't work out. I respect you, my brother, but that was a bit extreme. You see, without trying to get too involved in it, I feel compelled to get involved because I think that a lot of people are missing the issue involving Josh Giddey to begin with. Josh Giddey is being investigated for allegedly messing with an underage girl. We don't know the facts. And because we don't know the facts, and we represent a network, we have to make sure I's are dotted and T's are crossed before we provide commentary to that. The investigation is ongoing by the NBA. The Oklahoma City Thunder refuses to comment on it. Josh Giddey refuses to comment on it. And as a result, all we can keep doing is reminding everybody the brother being investigated.
I remember them leaking limited information in the Ime Udoka case, and Stephen A. Smith said that it was the fault of the Boston Celtics that caused people to want to dig and find out more about this case. But that was their fault. People are going to dig and they're going to speak on it. And that's what Stephen A. Smith did. And in that clip that we just seen a minute ago, that's where he was stopping Malika Andrews from saying, like, we should protect this white woman's name. The story's there and everybody knows about it. It's not that big a deal to say allegedly this, that, and the other happened. But to report on it is something that everybody should be doing, especially a sports program that reports on this type of stuff every day.
He's from Australia. He's being investigated for messing with an underage girl. That's problematic. And the NBA is investigating because next thing you know, they may take some heat because people may be asking them, what are you going to do about it? If this was the National Football League, chances are he would be put on a commissioner's exempt list where he wouldn't be allowed to play until the investigation was complete. Malika Andrews is a colleague of mine. There's no question about that. We got into our little tussle on the air after the Ime Udoka situation, or as that was brewing. She came at me in a certain way. I checked the situation the way I felt it needed to be checked. We had a conversation. Later, she apologized. I accepted her apology because I'm a human being and I make mistakes too.
There's no problem with that. The problem is the fervor in which she was jumping to condemn Ime Udoka in that situation, and the absence of that same fervor that she would handle something like Josh Giddey, a white man, right? She never handles black men and white people with the same aggressiveness.
How in God's name does Malika Andrews not ask that question on draft night? She had to. I'm telling you, me or any other reporter that was in that situation has an obligation to ask a team, an NBA official, or somebody about that question. There is no wiggle room around it. If she hadn't asked that question, the bosses would have been wondering why she had that job. If I was sitting in her chair and I didn't ask that question, since after all he was the number 2 overall pick and he was getting drafted and all of this residue was just months removed, I would have been asked, why do I have my job? That goes for any journalist.
Has anyone noticed how good Malika Andrews is at this? She quite literally will say, yeah, we're about to talk about this prospect, who, by the way, was most famous for being indicted in a capital murder of this person 7 years ago. She does this a lot. Look, listen to this.
Bobby, I want to talk to you a little bit more about Brandon Miller. His name did surface in court testimony involving a case where his former teammate and another man, they've been indicted for capital murder in the fatal shooting of 23-year-old Jemele Harris in January. The University of Alabama has described Miller as a cooperating witness. How is this factoring, if at all, into how teams are evaluating him?
Yeah, Malika, part of the...
I don't think it would be brought up at all if it wasn't for Malika just bringing it up on national television right now.
Like I said earlier, I don't think that mattered at all because he had already been absolved of all of that and had already been slated to still go number 2. Had his draft status dropped and he was going in the 3rd round or something like that, then you could see that it would be a problem. But because he was still going to number 2, everybody had already known that this is not a problem no more. He had nothing to do with it, so there was no need to bring it up.
So after seeing that clip, Dez Bryant shot back at Stephen A. Smith on the internet. He said, I'd love to come on your show and provide more context on what I'm saying because I think a lot of you seem to miss my point. I don't mind talking about nothing I've been through to validate my point, even more on the unfair treatment against certain athletes in the media world. By the way, I chose not to go back to Baltimore. I got the text messages to prove it. I'm a man of integrity. I'm a man of respect. Me controlling my own narrative, showing the world who I am, means more than anything to me. And then he says, I ain't talking about the situation no more unless Stephen A. Smith and Malika Andrews want to talk on air. But I do want to apologize for coming so aggressive at Malika Andrews.
All I'm going to say is that I think the aggressiveness is warranted. I don't believe I've heard any apology from Malika Andrews for any of the clips that we've played before in this video. So what warrants her getting an apology here?
But I do wonder if she even realizes how certain things look. Sports and media is a big deal to the culture. I battled my entire sports career pleading to the world. We are more than the game we play. We just need better help. Millions of dollars to do a job is not worth more than a human's mental, especially if you got family who loves you. I've experienced unfairness and saw white athletes get a slap on the wrist for doing stuff I know that will get you kicked off a team in a heartbeat. I really hate to make it seem like a black and white thing, but the unfairness is real. I know for me, I got tired of busting my behind, going the extra mile just to still get disrespected. I'm just fed up looking at the cycle. I don't even like jumping on shows or podcasts, but I will on this topic. The elephant being in the room, but folks scared to speak on it. I ain't looking for brownie points. I ain't looking to make somebody look bad. The real ones know how I move. I am the voice of the people who are afraid to speak. I care to talk about perspective. So that's what Dez had to say in response to that. Jemele Hill quoted one of Dez Bryant's tweets. She says, with all due respect, your tone and approach with Malika was out of line. You made it personal by bringing in how she was raised. You didn't bring any of that energy to any of the male broadcasters.
That's because we're not talking about the other male broadcasters. We're talking about Malika Andrews and her long history, as we've seen, of how she treats black men. When it comes to other broadcasters, we get on their head too. When it comes to Skip Bayless, we got on his head when he was doing the DeMar Hamlin and the Shannon Sharp disrespect and all of that stuff. So come on, this is what we're focused on right now. Her and her history.
She wasn't on air when the news about Josh Giddey happened and addressed it when she returned. So Dez Bryant responded, don't do that. I apologize, and I know you saw that before you decided to tweet at me, but how I feel remains. I'll go at whoever, however, male or female. Ain't nothing sweet. Y'all got to know by now, I don't care for the right reasons, and it's at an all-time high right now. I have respect for you, Jemele. Let's stay reasonable.
And so to be fair, I'm going to go ahead and play Malika Andrews' coverage since she finally chose to talk about it yesterday on Josh Giddey. And then we're going to play kind of what we know about the case as far as what Andrew Bogut had to speak on after that.
To news now that surfaced late last week, the league is looking into allegations that Thunder guard Josh Giddey had an improper relationship with an underage girl. In a since-deleted post, an anonymous social media user claimed a girl who was seen with Giddey in videos and images, some of which include explicit captions, was a junior in high school at the time. Giddey, who is 21, he declined to comment on Friday, and despite the serious allegations, Giddey is yet to miss a game this season. Thunder coach Mark Daigneault, he said he will continue to be in the lineup, saying, quote, "Just with the information we have at this point, that is the decision we've made. It's obviously a league matter at this point, and the ball is in their court on that." Now, a league spokesperson told me this morning that the NBA is still in the process of gathering information, and we will continue to update this story as the news develops. NBA Today will be back.
Hey guys, I dated Josh. We don't have to talk about it.
What's up, my man? We're at the phone club. Me and my girl. Better head back to mine.
Let's get into some news, and the biggest trending news of the last week is involving Josh Giddey and the social media CSI that has gone down. For those not familiar, he has been accused of dating or sleeping with, or whatever you want to call it, hooking up with a 15-year-old girl. Now, there's a lot that still needs to be done with this. It's very hard to comment until you have, a result on the investigation. From what I understand, the people I've spoken to is, now look, just want to put it out there, if Josh was 19, 20, 21 and knowingly seeking out a 15-year-old girl, absolutely despicable behavior. I'm strongly against it. Full, threat of the law, whatever it is, do your time. I don't think this is that, from what I understand. If I'm wrong, I'll come back and apologize. I don't think it is that. I think the girl was younger. From what I understand is the girl in question has lied about her age and said that she was of age at the time. This has also happened, I think, over a year ago now. I don't think this is something that's happened recently, much to people thinking on social media it has. And it's just hard to give proper comment on this until this plays out. Now, OKC have been aware of this, from what I'm told, for the last year. They've known about it. They have deemed Josh free to play. They don't see any concerns. The NBA have allowed that, which is kind of telling, because when these kind of things happen, the NBA kind of tries to really, take a couple of games off till we figure this thing out. But on the flip side, I don't think they can do anything, even if there was, some smoke to this fire, until there's formal charges. I think as per the CBA, I don't think, pending an internet Twitter investigation, they can step down a player from playing. He'd have to agree to it, so they can't just say you step down. So he has not been formally charged. I don't believe he's even been interviewed by police to this point. I think it occurred in California, where the age of consent is 18, which does throw a spanner in the works as to, did Josh know she was overage? I'm told that's what he was told. Did he know she was underage? Sorry, but I was told he was thinking that she was overage. But just a messy situation for everyone involved. I think for this to go down the legal route, I believe that the girl in question or the family have to formally press charges saying that he knowingly knew she was of this age. From what I understand, that will not happen because the girl lied about her age.
So that's where we are with Josh Giddey. It looks like the girl may have lied about her age, or I don't know. But they've been investigating this for a year. You figured they would be able to have a few facts by now about what's going on. If y'all knew about this for a year, I find it kind of difficult to believe that you haven't gotten close to getting to the bottom of this. But I guess since he hasn't been formally charged with anything, I guess the closeness of the bottom to this would be that maybe it's that the girl lied about her age, which then would kind of keep them from being able to criminally charge him or anything like that. I don't know how that all plays out, but I'm just looking at this like a year. You've been investigating this for a year, and you still ain't came up with nothing. I don't know, but It's your boy P Camp. Let me know what you think, what you don't think about this whole situation. Get at your boy. This is where we are with the Josh Giddey situation. One thing I will say, if they've known about this for a year, I find it hard to believe that they haven't come up with something. You know what I'm saying? Something either to vindicate him or something either to say that he was wrong or whatever, or something to say that the young girl was lying or that she was not. I just find it, like whatever your mind is with this situation and how it went down, they've been investigating this for a year and still nothing. And I think that if it had been a black man, it would have gone differently. It would have been, something would have happened sooner than a year. That's all I'm saying. But this your boy P Camp. You let me know what you think. I don't like to get ahead of myself and jump to conclusions in these type of cases because it's always new information coming out and different stuff and this, that, and the other. And you look one way and then something else hits. So I'm going to just leave it here. But everything is alleged. But we're going to see how it plays out and which way it goes. It's your boy P Camp. Let me know what you think, what you don't think. Get at your boy.